The Golden Key to a Wealth. Emmet Fox. One evening, while I was with Connie in her private living room at the Quinta El Yabillo, I asked her, "So how did you get into metaphysics?" She sat in her armchair as regal as ever and began to tell me her story. "We were in New York when World War II broke out," she said. "My husband and I wanted to come to Venezuela, but we couldn't find a way. Through some contacts, we found a way to travel on a cargo ship that was stopping at the port of Cabello. We boarded the ship and found ourselves in similar circumstances to those of the wise Henri Pittier and his wife, who also had to move to Venezuela. We were on the ship for a week and couldn't leave the Bay of Manhattan because a German submarine was stalking us in the ocean, ready to sink us. There were 8 other ships that were going to different parts of the world, and they couldn't leave either. Finally, we left and started hugging the coast, sailing only during the day and stopping at night, with all the lights turned off so we wouldn't be discovered. There was a climate of anxiety on board, but Mrs. Pittier sang with the sailors and was happy. I couldn't take it anymore," Connie continued. "One day, I grabbed her by the lapels and said, 'How can you be dancing as if nothing is happening when we are at war? Don't you know that a German submarine could sink us at any moment?' Mrs. Pittier replied, 'Nothing will happen to us because God is with us.' I asked her, 'Why isn't God with the soldiers in the war to protect them from being killed?' 'They don't know that they are with God, so they don't have His protection,' she said. 'God acts through consciousness.' After many days of sailing, we arrived at the port of Cabello, and the whole town was waiting for us. When we got off the ship, people were saying, 'You survived, you survived.'" And with that, Connie concluded her story, leaving me with a sense of awe and inspiration. And here we learned that out of the 9 ships that had set sail from Manhattan, only ours had reached its destination. So I went to where Mrs. Thatcher was and grabbed her by the lapels again, saying, "You are not saved. What do you know to have such power?" She replied, "Metaphysics." I then asked her to tell me something so that I could learn metaphysics, and all she gave me was the brochure The Golden Key by Emmet Fox. With a change in her voice, she said, "Reuben Jobs, a 20-year-old, read me this brochure alone, and with the Golden Key, he managed to solve all his problems." After the war, I returned to New York, and one day, as I passed the door of Carn Gingold, I found that Emmet Fox himself was giving a lecture there. I went in, and after all, became his disciple. And here you see how the Golden Key brochure has made all of Venezuela become metaphysical through my little book of metaphysics. Author, Ruben Cedeno. With Connie Mendez and my metaphysical memories, The Golden Key by Emmet Fox is a practical formula to free ourselves. Fox's preface. I have condensed this writing as much as possible. If it were possible, I would have reduced it to 5 lines. It does not attempt to be a treatise of instruction, but a practical formula to free ourselves. Studying and conducting research are certainly useful, but they alone won't relieve you of any specific difficulties. Only through your own consciousness can you achieve this. The mistake that many people make when things go wrong is to seek superficial knowledge by just flipping through books, which won't get you anywhere. Read The Golden Key multiple times and follow exactly what it says. If you are persistent enough, you will overcome any difficulty. The Golden Key, the scientific prayer, will eventually make you capable of handling any difficulty yourself, or helping others out of any existing difficulty on the face of the earth. For those unfamiliar with the greater power that exists, this may seem like a bold assertion, but a simple test will undoubtedly prove that it is true. You don't need to believe what you're told about it. Just make a list and see for yourself. The Golden Key is the key to harmony and happiness. Simply try it for yourself, and you'll see that God is omnipotent, and man has been made in His image and likeness and has dominion over all things. This inspired teaching should be taken literally for its current value. Here, man means every single man and woman, and therefore the ability to use this power is not the special prerogative of the mystic or saint, as is often assumed, nor even of the most well-trained practitioner of the truth. Whoever you are, wherever you are, the golden key to harmony is in your hand right now. The reason for this is that scientific prayer is God working, not you, and therefore you must act accordingly. Limitations and particular weaknesses have no place in this matter. You are merely the channel through which divine action takes place, and your behavior to receive the benefits of this treatment will simply be to step aside. Beginners often achieve remarkable results in the first trials because all that is absolutely essential is to maintain a receptive goal and sufficient faith to try the experiment. Apart from that, you can have any religious viewpoint or none at all regarding the current method of operation. Like all fundamental things, it is simplicity itself. All you have to do is to stop thinking about the difficulty and instead think about God. This is the complete rule, and if you do nothing else but this, you will obtain the desired results. The difficulty, whatever it may be, will not linger. There is no difference in the kind of difficulty, whether it is big or small, related to health, finances, a legal dispute, a quarrel, a burnt house, or anything conceivable. But regardless of what it is, simply stop thinking about it, and instead think of God. It is all that you have to do. It may not be simpler than that. God himself could hardly be simpler, and yet it never fails when applied correctly. Do not try to form a mental image of God, which of course is impossible. Instead, repeat everything you know about God. God is wisdom, truth, inconceivable love. God is present everywhere, has infinite power, knows everything, and so on. It doesn't matter how well you think you understand these things, repeat them anyway. But you must stop thinking about the difficulty. Whatever the rule is, it's about thinking of God. If you're thinking about your difficulties, then you're not thinking about God. Continuously observing affairs with suspicion to figure out how they operate is fatal because it is equivalent to thinking about the difficulty. Instead, you must think about God and nothing else. Your objective should be to erase the difficulty from your consciousness, even if just for a few moments, by substituting it with thoughts of God. This is where the magic happens. If you can get absorbed in this contemplation of the spiritual world and truly forget, even if for a short time, all that refers to the difficulty that led you to pray, you will find yourself safe and comfortably free from that difficulty. That's how you demonstrate. Think, I will apply the golden key to Pepe Amaria or the danger that threatens me. Then proceed to evict from your mind every thought related to Pepe, Amaria, or the danger, replacing it with the thought of God. If you do this with someone, it won't influence their behavior in any way, except that it will prevent them from hurting or bothering you. By doing this, you'll do them a favor, and from then on, they'll likely become a better, more enlightened, and spiritual person. Nothing more, just because you've applied the golden key. Any pending legal disputes or other difficulties will probably disappear without becoming more serious, and you'll impart justice to all those involved. If you can do this promptly, repeat the opera at intervals. Several times a day, however, make sure that every time you do it, you remove all thoughts from the subject until the next occasion. This is very important. We have said that the golden key is simple, and it is, but of course, it is not always easy to apply. If you are very scared or worried, it may be difficult at first to distract your thoughts from material things. But by constantly repeating some expression of absolute truth that you consider important, such as, there is only the power of God, or I am a child of God, permeated and enveloped in perfect peace, or God is love, or God guides me, or perhaps the simplest of all, God is with me. No matter how mechanical and useless the treatment may seem at first, it can be transformative. Do you realize that it's beginning to take effect and your mind is becoming clearer? Don't fight with violence, but with stillness and persistence. Every time you find your attention wandering, direct it back. Don't try to outline in advance the solution that your problem may likely have. That would only delay the demonstration. Leave the issue of means and final result perfectly goodbye. What you want is to free yourself from difficulty, and that is enough. Do your part, and God will not fail to do his. Anyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. This is a warning to solve problems and overcome all kinds of difficulties. Many people all over the world have used the golden key, which in the form of this version comes to serve a new useful purpose. I am thrilled to be able to cooperate in this way with the noble and valuable ministry of Uni, which I sincerely believe is the golden key that, in the midst of your troubles, will open the door to health, freedom, and knowledge of God. If you liked this video, please consider leaving a like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe now.